Hi, my name is Korie with a K, so Dr. Korie. I am currently a postdoc research fellow at the University of Michigan. And so here I will be evaluating novel nano microparticles for therapy in neutrophilic acute inflammatory disease as well as cancer. And so I'll also be evaluating biofunctionalized microparticles for use for targeted drug delivery in large animal models. I recently defended my Ph.D. from biomedical engineering at Cornell University. And so in that work, it was more about studying late stage prostate cancer and using kind of like a targeted drug delivery in order to provide better treatment options or a possible treatment option for people at that stage. As a child, I wouldn't say specifically STEM, but it was encouraged by my mother, who actually used to help me and my brother with our science projects when we were kids. And so she would whip up these science projects kind of like out of nowhere, and we would end up like placing and getting like first and second place. So that was my initial exposure to STEM. But I think it didn't really like spread or really get encouraged until I was high school taking AP chemistry, AP calculus, and then once I got to college, my general chemistry class was definitely when I knew I was like, okay, this is me, this is it. And so it's been like that ever since. So first, I got a full ride scholarship to Norfolk State University, HBCU in Norfolk, Virginia. So initially, I went to biology just because I was just a major. I think I'm interested in science. Let me just choose one. So then I did maybe half a semester in biology, but then the other half I was in chemistry. So my chemistry professor was like, Korie, you have great critical analytical thinking skills. I really think you should become a chemistry major. And then, so after having a conversation with her, I ended up switching my major to chemistry. After a while, thought I was going to go to med school because I was chemistry pre-med. So I thought I was going to go to med school. Come to find out that wasn't really my top choice deep down. So I got a job in Atlanta after graduation working for a biomedical device company. And so working at this company is when I realized, okay, I think I really like biomedical engineering. So let me apply to grad school. And so I applied, got into Cornell University. Once I got there, I didn't really have a huge engineering background like my cohort. So I had to take some undergrad engineering classes just to kind of catch me up. And so after I did that, I was able to successfully complete my PhD in biomedical engineering. And then now, kind of going back, now I'm in chemical engineering. So biology, chemistry, BME, now back to chemie. The hardest challenge was really kind of like trusting and believing in myself. I think it's actually really believing in yourself that you can do these things when you don't see a lot of representation of yourself in the field in general. And so initially I would doubt like my own thinking and my intelligence just because I wasn't always, I think, on par, especially when I got into my PhD program. But after doing that and then transitioning to a postdoc, like I may not know everything, but now I have the confidence and the ability to know I can figure out anything. Actually relying on myself and not just the information that's given to me was definitely like more of the difficult kind of path to go down. But I'm here now and I just feel like anything you put in front of me, I can do it, I can figure it out. So for me, it's about the translational aspect. I like things that I know are going to end up somewhere at some point in time, or just has an actual application into medicine. And so that's why I kind of drifted away from actually going in the medical field to like, okay, maybe I can be a part on the back end, the behind the scenes where we're actually making things for doctors to use. And when I was working for that biomedical device company, I was working on what we call the hero graft. And so what it was is a dialysis graft that dialysis patients would use as a kind of like the last resort because their veins had either collapsed or the fistula networks are no longer working. So just seeing a part that I was touching and making like literally every day was actually going into actual people really kind of like inspired me to figure out, so what else is out there? So for me, it's just about the application and the potential application that you can use to, help treat a disease or cure cancer, as everybody wants us to do. So it's just like all these different applications, and it just touches so many people that you don't even realize. Just to get used to like failed experiments. Like don't get so invested in things always working out. the first time or the second or the third or the seventh. And you have to realize that it's a learning process. It's not straight from A to B. You have to take your time, and a lot of that is kind of failure at each step. So sometimes an assay may work, sometimes it may not. Sometimes you may get something right the first time. Sometimes you have to maybe wait till the ninth time. And so I think just having that persistence and that tenacity to keep going and overcome, even when you feel like, oh, I did everything right and it still went wrong. Well, that's kind of what science is. So now I'm more living in, like, when things don't happen or things don't go the way it's supposed to, I'm like, okay, so this is teaching me something. So now I need to change and I need to pivot. Get comfortable with failure, get comfortable with sometimes the lows and a little bit of the highs. And I think if I would have known that, it would have took a little bit of the heartbreak out in the beginning. So if you ask me how I balance everything, I have no clue. But I prioritize things that are important to me and that make sense to me and that make me feel, good. So is it prioritizing my mental health? Is it prioritizing my actual physical health? Is it prioritizing my research right now? Is it prioritizing this, nonprofit I want to be a part of? Is it prioritizing this online organization I want to be a part of? So it's, again, like just having that prioritization of what's important to you, and kind of the rest you'll figure out, or you'll fall in. But I will say one thing that does help is like kind of establishing a little bit of routine. So at one point near the end of my PhD, I'd get up at 5, I'd go to the gym, be done by 7:30, head into lab around 8, be there all day for whatever experiment I need to do, read if I need to do that during the day, and then go home and kind of start it over. So once I had my actual professional life and some type of routine, it allowed me to venture into other things. So balance maybe is not the word, prioritize, I think, would definitely be it. I think one of the major ones is being able to ask questions. I one time had a high school student shadow me because she was interested in STEM, and she just didn't ask one question at all what I was doing. And I know she didn't really even know what I was doing. And I know she had questions in her mind. Maybe she just wasn't saying them. I had no idea. So I had to stop. I had to tell her, I feel like as a scientist, we're very curious individuals and we're always trying to find answers. And this is the path that you want to go down. I think you should be asking me questions exactly what I'm doing. I don't assume that you know everything. So don't assume that you know exactly what I'm talking about. So having that curiosity, that willingness to like find an answer is like one of the literally the basic skills. And even questioning your questioning, like, am I asking the right questions? Does this answer, or will it answer my hypothesis, or will it lead down the right way? Even asking other people, does this seem right? Is this layout, this experiment like seem feasible? So I think always having those questions in mind, and not necessarily questioning your abilities, but just questioning the science at hand, just to make sure that it makes sense. So questions, ask as many as you can. Another skill is being able to collaborate as well as taking direction from other people. Although a PhD is kind of very solitary, you still have to take direction from your advisor. A lot of times we will collaborate with other people in the same field or in different fields. And so if you have that ability, it just makes science better. Instead of it coming from one viewpoint or just out of one set of hands, you have all these people in this different pot, and it makes just the science more informed, more legit, and you just really can produce like wonderful results when you have that collaboration effort behind it. Now, specific skills, I think statistics is a major one. We do that all the time when we're analyzing our data. So if you understand statistics, understand why you're using a certain test, understand how you're testing your hypothesis, and being able to, use the software and everything that's, applicable, that's also a very strong point. So with my platform, it's all about really redefining what a scientist looks like. I think we all have this preconceived notion of maybe some like mad scientist, white male in a lab coat with like crazy hair. I mean, I might have the crazy hair down, Miss Frizzle hair, but that's not representative of me. And so I think for me, it's about putting that image out so that other people can like see that relatability, but also see if like, okay, if she's in the field, then I can be in the field too. So in terms that came with advocating, and so that started when I was in grad school. And so I noticed that there was like a disconnect sometimes between the undergrad and the grad population. So I did different positions that allowed me to interface more with undergrads. And it was mostly with undergrads, minority students, students of color. And they didn't always necessarily know about grad school. And then that just turned into advocating because I would go to these conferences and I would only see maybe a certain amount of Black women or women of color, and it wasn't like a lot of us. And that also translated to my own journey, just all my experiences through grad school and postdoc and how I can better fight for myself, but also fight for others. It kind of shifted more to online platforms. So I started working with Women Doing Science, where we showcase women from all over the world doing research. And then another organization I'm part of is STEM Noir. So it's a research and holistic wellness retreat for Black women in STEM. So having that network for other African American women or Black women to lean on and create that for people has just been really satisfying. And then I'm also part of a STEM Success Summit. So showcasing younger people to STEM and what STEM is. And then I also just had a self-advocacy workshop. And so I'm really big on self-advocacy first and foremost. And I've noticed throughout my whole STEM career that women actually have a hard time advocating for themselves on the same level as maybe our white male counterparts. And so just giving a actual workshop to showcase those skills, the scenarios that you could possibly be in, and how you can advocate for yourself in them. I'm happy that I'm able to help women who are in academia, just like me, able to advocate for themselves even more. I think the three biggest takeaways would be one, just being authentic and being yourself. I've learned throughout my whole STEM career, anytime I'm trying to be somebody different, it just doesn't work. So being true to myself, true to my goals, my core values, my initiatives, my plans, my priorities really helps with, I think, finding that path to where you want to go, but also having kind of like that likability that people can relate to. I think the next part is really just understanding that not only being just, a woman of color, just in general, a person, human being, I can do anything that I put my mind to. There's no limits. And so not listening to other people, but listening to yourself, but sometimes you could be your own biggest, worst critic. So I think just realizing that you have all the capabilities as the next person, even though sometimes we all come from different circumstances, but we can still overcome, persevere, and be in a field where we may not always feel the most represented. But again, we're all amazing individuals. And so we can't let people talk us out of anything that we want to do. We just got to shoot for the stars. Not even, matter of fact, another galaxy. We got to shoot that far, okay? Just be open to all the different science that's going on, the explorations down to what's happening in cancer research, just reading and being up on the latest things that are happening, because something's happening every day as far as science is concerned. I always say chemistry is like the basis of life, but then I'm biased because I'm a chemist. So science is important. It's good to keep up with it, with what's going on. And I just can't stress it enough.